All right, welcome back. Episode 124. Will we ever get to episode 1000? Hey Poyu, hey Onni, and hey JF. Welcome in. Good to see you guys here. Ilta tuntuu olevan parempi viikko meikäläisellä kuin mitä tässä nyt on viime aikoina ollut. It's like you're saying good evening seems to be a better week. I don't know what meikäläisellä means. But then what here now is last time to be. That's a very bad translation, but Polyu, thank you for putting that in chat. It seems like we're having a better week than we've had here lately. I don't know what this word is though. Like it tuntuu olevan parempi viikko. It seems like we're having a better week. And then I just would have said kuin. Like a better week than. And I guess aikoina in this case means lately. Wait, Trick, let's see if there's it's for like meidän meikäläisellä. It seems like ours is having a better week than it has been here lately. Thank you. Okay, yeah. Okay, you guys are already saying this in chat. I deduced it from looking at the other Google Translate options. But yeah, meikäläinen means I, me in this case. Ah, okay. Oh, it's okay. So this might be a little wrong. Ours is not maybe the best translation. It's more like me. Or sorry, me is we. Minä. Why does Finnish have words that equate to English pronouns? Like me and he? That don't actually equate. Like it's a cruel, like there's some cruel trick the gods have played upon me. We're just gonna have languages with, you know, the exact same word or spelling, but then totally different meaning. But in a very similar context, personal pronouns. How does that make it? Yeah. But yes, good. Yeah, sorry. Good to have you guys here. Who else do we see? I see JS and Lorelei. Welcome in. Onni, you're among the first ones this time tuning in on A Fabulous Finish with Tyler. Well, hope I can live up to it. Thank you for believing me. Believing in me. not just believing me. But yeah, I was starting the stream feeling low on energy. I'm just so tired. And I'm just like, oh man, do I really have to practice Finnish? And to do it in front of people on the internet. So we'll see. We're gonna practice some stuff. I mean, I'm starting by trying to translate some of your comments in chat. I was also looking at this past week I haven't been reading the Selko-uutiset. I've kind of changed my routine a little bit, and so I haven't been reading this in the mornings, and so it might be nice to read something like this. And I saw this has to do with the prices, or in this context, like the fines, like the penalties, for, is it, I don't remember what this word means, but it's like the, killing or endangered species, something like that. It has to do with, if you kill an endangered species, you have to pay a fee. And so it goes through and it shows you, if you kill this, this eagle, 12,000 euros. Boom. And an ollie, 17,000. But yeah, we could read some of this. I don't know if it's going to be really depressing or not, but I was kind of interested because it has to do with animals and nature, and could be good to practice some of these nature words. Like, I'm not really sure. What is this? Yeah, kiljukotka. It's a type of eagle. On suuri petolintu is a large bird. I assume petolintu is like a bird of prey. So yeah, we can look at that here in a little bit. But I want to continue with some of what you guys were saying here. Yeah. Google Translation is bad. Well, yeah. Hey, Lorelei, congrats on finishing your essay. That's awesome. I assume it coincided with the end of the school term. A lot of my teacher friends are finished now and on summer holiday. News are hardly ever something else than depressing. Yeah. It is true. I did look at this and I was like, well, this could be interesting at least. And I mean, of course, like, we want to stop the destruction of endangered species, and in general, just, stop harming animals with our, with what we do as humans, whether intentionally or not. That could be interesting. Yeah, hinnat refers to fines in this context. How big of a fine for species? Yeah, it's not like you're allowed to hunt. That was at first what I was thinking, but I reasoned in context. Yeah, that you can't. This isn't like a fee that you pay, like a license to kill. James Bond. Yeah, the bad news does get more interest than the good news. But it should be relative to your income, like the traffic violations. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. There was a couple other sentences I should try to translate before we get too far. JS, you said earlier, ilta kesti vähän tavallista kauemmin taloyhtiön ja hallituksen kokous. Okay, wait, let me bring it over into Google Translate. Let us see. So yeah, you're also saying evening. I don't know kesti. By the way, I'm not looking at the English, just so you know. I'm like intentionally like not looking on that side of the screen. But you guys can see it for reference, and let me know how good of a translation it is. So I forget what kesti means, but little. Doesn't this mean usual? I always, and then this one. Does this mean far, like farther? Taloyhtiön. I forget. I'm like, I recognize a lot of these words. Well, talo means house. It could also be related to like the economy, like talos. But in this case, it's like the house yhtiön. I thought yhtiö means like some sort of group or society or something like that. Maybe not. And then this is the government meeting, Cocos. Some sort of... Is this like the housing company? The housing company and Holitus. Wait, there's a difference between like government and administration, and I'm trying to remember the two words. Holitus versus Holinta, or I don't know. I think Holinta is like administration. So in this case, I think it is the government, Holitus. But anyways, whatever. Evening, the housing association and board meeting took a little longer than usual. So, I was kind of there. Like, a lot of the words I kind of understood. I just didn't connect them logically the way they're supposed to be connected. Man, I feel like I am a scholar of some ancient forgotten tongue. And I'm just like praying to find a Rosetta Stone or something that will help me. Except it's not ancient or forgotten. But I feel like, it feels like sometimes I am reading some ancient Mayan scrolls or something. Farther is Kawemas. So in this case, it's like it took longer. Kawemim. Thanks for that, Lorelei. And the translation is good this time from Google JS. Yeah, so I said housing company. And I don't know if that's more or less accurate than housing association. Because I feel like I've heard this to refer to like the company or the organization that owns the building. Because a housing association is a different thing, at least in America. It's like a neighborhood where all the individual owners of like separate homes meet to discuss policies related to the neighborhood, like how to keep your grass, what like I don't know, other random stuff like that. But I know in Finland things can be organized differently. I think of the housing company typically, because like if I remember correctly, if you like buy an apartment in a building, typically in Finland it's organized like a cooperative. Like you own everything inside the apartment, but not in the walls or something like this. Or it's like you might not even technically own the apartment. You own a certain number of shares in the housing company that equates to your apartment. Something like this. And maybe I'm sure there might be multiple structures employed in Finland, but I remember hearing about this, that it can be different. It's more like a cooperative ownership of a building rather than just an association of individual owners. And you do get a better translation if you split words and take it from there, Anni. Yeah, most apartment buildings are sort of small companies. And there's something similar in New York City. Yeah. And it sounds about right to you, JS, what I just said about housing. See, I know a few things. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like housing association, housing company. I don't even know. But anyways, and the board. So in this case, Hallitus refers to the board, not the government. It's the government of the housing association or whatever, but that's different. We're not referring to the state government. which I typically when I see Hallitus, I think of the the state. But HOA, it's not. Yeah. Yeah, when I think of a housing association, that's what I'm thinking of in America, the Homeowners Association. Yeah. But yeah, there were some other things in Finnish you guys said. But Lorelei, how does it feel to be done with your essay? How long? How many? Okay, how long was the essay? What was it about? Can I ask? I'm curious because I know you were working on it quite a while. Was it like just one class essay, or was it like your thesis? And Lorelai, you said earlier, maybe you said it earlier in Finnish. Moi sain eilen essayn. So you're like, whatever. Let me try to read this. I'll bring it over into Google Translate here. I'm gonna remove this. So you're saying I got yesterday something about the essay. Why do I want to say to send? Lähetettyä, to send. Or I got the essay sent? Like I sent in the essay? Is that kind of what it means? I submitted the essay? And I got today to know that I something ehdin in the past tense. I somethinged ainakin. Well, aina means always. To get it like arvosanan, like the approval. This what is it? Lukuvuonna. What is that? I should know what luku means. But you should get approval this year? This month? Well, let's see what it says. Hi, I sent in my essay yesterday. This is what was confusing me because I saw this ending. And to me, this implies that the essay is sending itself. Why do I think of endings like this as being like sort of like the intransitive version of a word? Like I can't think of another example. Maybe it's not a good example because I'm thinking also of like kasva versus kasvata. That doesn't illustrate my point, but that's what I was trying. Yeah, thinking of something like that, where it's like to grow plants versus a plant grows itself. Oh, by the way, I'm not even looking at chat. Sorry, you guys are probably helping me out. Now, Ani, you're saying about technically you don't own a property either. The government does, to be precise, and let you brainstorm for a while. Wait, I don't know if I understand what that is. Okay, yours was a 7-page essay, 12 including the sources, so you know it was legit, and just for a class. Okay. Well, congratulations either way. I know doing like a full thesis can be even bigger. I remember turning in my thesis, well, my theses plural, from when I did my bachelor's and my master's. Yeah. But that was quite a thing to go and print out this long document. Yeah, it's hard to think like how that, and on the one hand, sometimes it feels like that didn't happen that long ago. But then other times it feels like that was a totally different life. A totally different person lived during that time. That's kind of weird to think. But also to think of like what I wrote. Some of it was kind of cringy. You know, whenever you look back at your old writing, it's just like, oh man, cringe. But you know, that's how it is. Anyways, and today I found out that I will at least get a grade for it this academic year. Well, I would hope so. Okay, wait. Lorelai, I need a little more explanation here. Why would you not get a grade for it this academic year? Like, typically when you turn in an essay, or is it that you got extensions maybe? Is that the reason why? Like, it wasn't turned in on time and you had like, and then yeah, I don't know. Planning a fictional service for an audience. Wait, what is that? Those are words that should mean something to me, but my brain cannot comprehend. Planning a fictional service for an audience. Like are you pitching a service like a product for a market? Or a service like a religious service? Like from a fictional one, from like Game of Thrones, for example. Maybe you've planned... this seems a bit more ridiculous, but actually the far more interesting option is that you planned a religious service at the Great Sept of Baelor in King's Landing for an audience. And yet you planned it so that the faith militant is in attendance, because, you know, the faith militant has been reinstated in King's Landing. And the High Sparrow is presiding. And that's why they need you to plan it, because the faith militant and the sparrows have changed so much. They sold all of the expensive gems and crowns and you know, whatever, robes, clothing, and tapestries, all of that they sold. So they need somebody to put together a new service. Okay, I'm taking this tangent too far, but it's only because I am deeply immersed in A Song of Ice and Fire. I've been listening to the audiobooks like every day, multiple chapters, and I'm really enjoying it. And then I'm reading summaries of each chapter because I forget what happens, or I miss certain things, you know. And then I'm reading theories, like fan theories, about what has actually happened, or like what might happen in the next books and whatever. I'm like, oh man, I'm deep. But sometimes, doesn't it feel so good to be so deeply immersed in something? Like, yeah. I like that. That's what I love about Song of Ice and Fire and The Lord of the Rings. All right, I'll spare you the Tolkien lecture, where I'm gonna change to a Martin lecturer now. You get what is it? Twice as much for the same price. Okay, coming back to you guys helping me. Sign lähetettyä is managed to send. I managed to submit my essay, to send in my essay. Ainakin has nothing to do with always. Söin ainakin 5 omenaa. I ate at least 5 apples. You know, okay, look, I'm blaming the Finnish language for confusing me, all right? I will accept the L, but not without defending myself and my honor. I saw Keen, and because this was a comment from you guys, and you speak in your little puhe kieli, I thought maybe this is one of those enclitic particles that I can never understand. And I thought, okay, maybe it's just put in this, and that's why I was thinking Aina, because I saw the keen. But now that you point out Aina keen means at least, yeah, I recognize that. Like, if I saw this in the news, like in Selko, then I would probably think a bit longer about it and maybe be like, oh wait, that means at least, or at least I wouldn't think it simply means Aina, even if I forgot what the word means. I would see it as one word. In my defense, you only had to write the master's thesis, no bachelor thing at the time for you, JS. You see, the thing is, I've always been a nerd, or at least I've always enjoyed thinking and writing. And so for me, it was a lot of fun to like do these. All of my classes were in the humanities, the liberal arts. Writing essays is what I enjoyed. And so it was actually fun to write my bachelor's thesis. It's not a requirement in the US usually to write a thesis for your bachelor's, but because I was in an honors program at my undergraduate, to graduate with honors, you have to do a thesis project, and that was a lot of fun. I should actually go back and reread my old thesis. I did a screenplay adaptation of the Song of Roland. Look at this. The Song of Roland is an 11th century chanson de geste, a song of deeds, based on the deeds of the Frankish military leader Roland, or Rollin, at the Battle of Roncevaux Pass in AD 778 during the reign of Emperor Charlemagne. It was to be honest, it would be fun to reread the screenplay because I don't remember. I don't remember how I adapted it. I remember some parts. But yeah. And then on top of writing a screenplay that was like a feature film, like I wrote it to be like an hour and a half long movie. I wrote like 30 pages of analysis talking about the Song of Roland historically, how it's been interpreted, etc. And then I also did an analysis of how I was interpreting it in my screenplay adaptation of it. I was definitely very inspired by the approach of Gladiator. That was sort of the movie. I don't want to say I didn't like emulate Gladiator, but like I came closest to maybe following that style, I guess. I think the screenplay starts with a lot of text, like in Gladiator, that kind of gives you the context for, what the heck is happening here. Wow, yeah, this is taking me back when I was 21, 22 years old. Yeah, the death of Roland. Spoiler alert. Roland dies at the battle, and then his friend Olivier, or Oliver, whatever. What a crazy story. But yeah, it's like the oldest surviving oral poem in like French. The first and one of the most outstanding examples of the chanson de geste. Yeah. But yeah, the text that we have dates from much later than the event. So it's obviously very like it's the historical accuracy is of the actual event might be a bit different from the way the story, the song presents it for the medieval audience. But yeah, that's what I wrote in my undergraduate thesis about the Song of Roland. I almost actually wrote about something even crazier. Yes. This is even weirder, but I almost feel like maybe I should have written about this, because this is Lockman's Brute. And it was like, yeah, a Middle English alliterative verse poem recast by an English priest. And yeah, it narrates a fictionalized version of the history of Britain up to the early Middle Ages, and the first work of history written in English since the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. And it is largely based on Anglo-Norman French, but it's like the legend of Arthur, right? Yeah, and it greatly expands on the life and exploits of King Arthur. And so I don't even remember what I had started writing about this, and then I changed because I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to say about this. But it was really cool. It was a really cool text. And I was studying Old English at the time. I guess, yeah, Lockman's Brute, they say Middle English. It's like early Middle English. It's quite difficult. But yeah, so that's what I wrote. That's what I studied. a lot of good that's done me. I mean, look, I enjoyed my studies, and there are a lot of people who maybe study more practical stuff, but don't enjoy their lives. But anyways, sorry, Lorelai, you said earlier the essay has been crashing against your ADHD. You need the course to get the degree, and after June you will become HUMKAND in another subject after that. I don't know what that means. Is that it's an abbreviation for something? Planning a service for branch Tylerian. Yes, when I open my cult. All right, I need that. Hey, Pisky, welcome in. Good to see you again. How's it going? And Juha, good to see you too. Olet pian suomen kielen mestari. Well, thank you, Juha. You're soon a Finnish language master. Writing longer text you do not enjoy or excel at, it's hard, JS. That's true. I guess it does depend how long the text is. And it does depend also on the topic. Like, yeah. I don't know. I really enjoyed studying medieval literature. It was there was something very exciting about it for me at the time. And probably would still be exciting for me if I were like taking classes on it. But yeah, I don't know. Like it was like one of those things where, as you can expect, the world doesn't offer jobs. There aren't many employment opportunities. Even in academia, it's quite rare to get any sort of appointment as a medieval scholar. But even that being said, I wasn't necessarily that good. Like, I enjoyed studying it, but like in order to become one of like those, to become a professor, I mean, you really have to be dedicated. And also, I mean, I would have needed much better language skills than I had at the time, especially in Latin and French, and even like in Old English. There were a lot of aspects of it that I wasn't as enthusiastic about, I guess. And I also at the time felt like I had other things I wanted to do. Like I wanted to make movies. I wanted to come to Finland and teach. What What a mistake that was. All these years later. By the way, guys, I have some sad news for you. And I haven't made the official decision, but I wrote the email. I think I am giving up my garden. I can talk more about it, but I'm probably giving up my garden. I think I'm going to give it back. But I'll explain more here in a second. I want to see what you guys were saying here in chat. A pure Finnish name, Juha, and not speaking it as a mother tongue, or... Oh, you referred to Tyler? Oh, you thought like Juha was referring to himself or something? Yeah, how many names can be traced to the Norseman era? Like Eric, Harold, Olaf, and Roland as well? Yeah, I can't remember the origin of Roland. But there was such like a melting pot of things happening in Europe. Languages. You will officially receive the Swedish one. Okay, so yeah. Humanistis then. Well, you can't put that many ististis in a word. Humanistis then. Tieteiden. And you can't then follow that up with a tieteiden. Tieteiden. It's like... I feel like languages have a natural evolution, and Finnish didn't. Finnish just decided it was gonna be the weird kid. You know, that one weird kid who kind of broke all the rules, but not like in a bad way. They were just that kid that wore the weirdest outfits. You know, didn't abide by any social norms. Finnish is like, yeah. For some reason, I'm imagining a kid just wearing a lot of colorful clothes, like just clashing colors. That's what it feels like. I'm not passing judgment. Maybe a little bit. but you guys, you do you. Something about writing du skrivare det essay på svenska. Is it sad that I can actually understand that? I can't understand Finnish, but then I can understand Swedish without even like trying. I mean, I guess I am trying a little bit to learn Swedish, but it's frustrating that Swedish is so much easier, but I've already ranted about that in years past. But yeah, you were saying, did you write the essay in Swedish? You sometimes wonder how many people actually carry a specific name according to the almanac. Ani, that's another weird thing that exists in Finland that we don't have in America, at least, or I don't know if other English-speaking countries have it. Or what other countries have the name calendars? I guess Sweden has one, right? Do all the Nordics have name calendars? Because I never heard of that. We never had it growing up in America, and I don't remember seeing it like in France or anywhere else in Europe. When you were first learning English, Yuha, you thought medieval was short for medium evil. Because those years are between really evil ages and modern non-evil age. Well, Yuha, you might be in for a surprise. The modern ages have been pretty evil, perhaps more so in some respects. But yeah. Yeah, the medieval. Isn't there like another spelling as well? Like, I feel like I've also seen it as like this, like medieval. Or does it have? I mean, I guess I could just click on medieval and it'll show me the other spellings if there are. Yeah, yeah, it is here. Oh, with an A-A-L. Did I? Maybe I didn't spell that. I don't know. Although I like this letter. It's called an ash. The A-E combined. It's almost like an infinity symbol. And at least that's how I kind of see it. It's used a lot in Old English. That's how I know. Too much work, Lorelei. It's about, oh yeah, the garden. Too much work was also the reason why you sold half the summer place you and your sister owned with your cousin. Release the garden gnomes to the wild. Oh, welcome in, 27. Good to see you. Yeah, that's it. I got to release the garden gnomes. If you want a language that didn't change, take a look no further than Iceland. Yeah. That. Actually, one of my friends who studied Old English with me in undergrad, he went to Iceland and did I think he did a master's there, or he was on there like on a Fulbright scholarship, and he studied Icelandic because he also studied Old Norse, and modern Icelandic is very similar to Old Norse. The language hasn't changed that much. Which is also weird that I remember meeting a Dutch person and she could read Old English. Not like read it easily, but it was easier for her to read Old English than it was for me. Even though I'm reading the more direct descendant. Modern Dutch, I think, has more in common with Old English. It's preserved more of the like Germanic, whatever characteristics of it. Aslog and Dagmar, both given to ladies. I don't really know these names. Or like what the Dagmar does sound like a very masculine name. Aslog sounds like an orc out of Lord of the Rings. You celebrate your name days because born in December, Lorelei? I don't even think I have a name day. Can you guys tell me, does Tyler have a name day? Media eval. Probably Old English names too. Icelandic throws you for a loop. Scandinavian with Finnish pronunciation. I didn't know that they had more of a Finnish pronunciation, I guess. Like they pronounce more of their letters. Have a weird Germanic. Yeah, I'll tell you the garden story. It's not much of a story. I guess I kind of just realized over the past month when I've gone out, I've worked on the garden a little bit. I've been preparing it for planting. And I haven't enjoyed it. The whole time I'm out there, I'm just like, I would think to myself, like, why am I doing this again? Like, I'm not enjoying this. And like, it's not peaceful. And the other problem with it is like, there are lots of other people around. And that's fine. I'm not anti-people. But first of all, no one in the garden allotment has been particularly nice to me. No one's been mean necessarily, but like, I don't get a sense of community when I go out to the allotment garden. And that I understand that's just Finnish people leaving you alone out of respect. It's not meant to be like, but I just realized that I'm like, I'm tired of always being the person to initiate community. Like nobody nobody sees me and starts a conversation with me. And that gets kind of exhausting. And I kind of just realized I didn't enjoy being out in the garden. And other people are out there and we're just kind of in our little silo. And it's not the main problem is I just realized that gardening is a lot of work. It's a lot of effort and it requires skill. Like that's the other thing about gardening. It will waste your time. Like you can put a lot of effort into a garden and still mess it up. The plants won't grow. The plants will get eaten by some creatures or something, or the weeds will overtake it, or you just didn't plant the plants in the right way and they died. It's like all sorts of little things that are like, it's not a relaxing hobby. It's not. I was under the impression that like gardening was good for the human soul. I do not feel that my soul has benefited. I have only felt stressed and annoyed and tired. And I did have a moment where I was out there and I just had to think. I was like, I've been out here for hours and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I had this idea like a year or two ago that I wanted to try gardening. Like, am I just forcing myself to do it? And I cannot think of what I enjoy about it. Even last year, I grew radishes and they sucked ass. They were the worst radishes. They were awful. I hated. I tried so hard to like them. I cooked them in like so many different ways. And that made me hate gardening even more. Because then it was like I was putting more effort into trying to salvage the crop that I had grown. But I was making food that tasted awful. I think I had to throw away otherwise good food because I had tried to cook radishes into it, like soups and stuff that just like I remember that radish flavor in the back of my nose. I was like, it was so bad. Look, I know I'm like complaining a lot here, but I'm trying to give my reasons. And maybe on a more positive note, I was thinking like, this isn't what I enjoy about being outside. I would enjoy it more also if I had more help or it was like a project I was doing with somebody. But because it was a project I had to manage completely by myself, I also had friends who said they would come help and then didn't. And so like and for good reason. I'm not holding it against my friends, like, but it just the reality of life is that people aren't available even when they want to be available. And so it was just like, well, yeah, I don't know. The garden hasn't really turned into any sort of fun thing that friends would want to help out with on weekends. And then what I enjoy about being outdoors is like I love just walking through the forest. Like going for a forest walk is so much more refreshing and meaningful than digging through the dirt and pulling out weeds. I hate weeds. That's all I can grow are weeds. And so yeah, I kind of reached a breaking point where I was like, I don't want to deal with this all summer. And I'm also stressed out about what to grow and how to grow it. It turns out you can't just put seeds in the ground and let them grow. That's not how plants work. Every plant has its own special conditions. And you got to make sure, it's like, and that's the other thing. I kind of felt like, why am I doing this hobby that I'm feeling stressed out about? Like, I guess I could just go plant a bunch of stuff in the ground, like without thinking about it. But then I'm going to have problems. And then I'm going to like blame myself for not planning better. but the planning part stresses me out because it's supposed to be a more relaxing hobby. And I would rather spend my planning energy, I don't know, doing other things. I'm like digressing. But yeah, I kind of just I got burnt out just from even preparing the garden, and I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna give it up. I already wrote the email. I haven't hit send because I'm like, I'm waiting just to make sure that I do want to actually give it up. But yeah, it was kind of sad. Kind of a sad realization that, you know what, gardening isn't for me. And another thing is, I realized I don't have the physical energy to garden and run. like and because I do enjoy exercise, and gardening can be a good form of exercise, but I can't do both. And I really like training for marathons. And that requires a lot of time and energy and planning, you know, being outside running. And I enjoy that a lot more than gardening. And I don't want to give up my mornings on weekends when I could be out on a long run. And instead, I'm in this dumb garden picking weeds and trying to figure out if I'm watering too much or too little. Like, I don't care. I don't care that much about growing stupid potatoes. All right. Potatoes aren't even that healthy. Like, what? I'm just done. Okay. I'm gonna cut my rant short. TLDR, I didn't enjoy it. There's other things I enjoy better. And yeah, it wasn't what I hoped it would be. And you shouldn't force things in life. Like, I did try for a year. And you know what? I had my garden experience. Maybe it'll be different if I have my own property one day and I have a little garden there. And maybe people to help, you know, then it would make more sense. But at least right now, like, I don't care that much about growing a few onions. I can just go buy the onions at the grocery store are fine. Like, I'm not that picky. So yeah, there you go. That's my my rant. There are less than 195 male Tylers and less than 25 female Tylers. I've never met a female Tyler, but born in Finland since 1940. France does have a name calendar, apparently. I just wasn't aware. A Danish princess queen was called Dagmar. And in the Viking series, there's a lady called Aslaug who married Ragnar Lothbrok. You are in Finland? Yeah, I live in Finland, Lorelai. And your name day is the 13th of July, 27? Were you gardening for gardening's sake or for expected community? I went into it with an open mind. I just wanted to see what was all the excitement about it. Like, a lot of people love gardening. And maybe, okay, another thing is I started watching gardening videos. Do not do this, okay? Do not watch gardening videos because, first of all, you're going to get an unhealthy fixation with gardening as some hobby you need to have. Second of all, you'll never be as good as those gardeners. Your garden will never look as lush and beautiful as their gardens, you know? And it's overwhelming with information. And I don't know. The community aspect, I didn't have like a goal with respect to that. I mean, maybe I was hoping more for like my friends to want to garden with me, but you know, they've had kids recently, or you know, they've moved, and it just doesn't really make sense. I to be fair, I have had some help. There have been a few times a few friends have come and helped on the garden, and I am really thankful for that. And those were the most enjoyable times. but I realize I'm gonna have to be working on the garden on my own most of the time, and I'm just not that interested. Just, there was something else about the garden I was thinking of that I can't remember now, but oh, also, here's another reason. Gardening is kind of expensive. Like, I realized there's so much that you can spend on a garden. And yeah, like buying compost and mulch. I looked into that and I was like, man, I can't spend hundreds of euros on this. Like, I just, or even thousands. Like, yeah. That was also the kind of the realization that I'm like, if I wanted to do this, I would prefer to do it like in raised garden beds. Not like really tall garden beds, but even just like raised ones. But even then you need to buy quite a lot of compost. And dealing with all of that was just too much, yeah. And not feasible for me. But yeah. Lack of micro communities and community oriented thinking is one of the worst parts of modern Finnish culture. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of sad. I mean, it's tough. Especially this time in my life where I'm not married. I don't have a family. And a lot of my friends have gotten married and have started families, and like there just isn't the time or the desire to like have friendships the same way. But then again, if I did, I wouldn't be able to do live streams with you guys, or maybe not as often. Maybe then I would have a good excuse for not practicing Finnish. Oh, maybe that would be my release. A lot of J names are on the 24th of June. You should keep the garden so you can enjoy lovely radishes in fall. JF, I'm triggered. Splitting the farm some centuries ago broke the Finnish village. Now the dream seems to be to live in the middle of nowhere with at least 5 kilometers to your nearest neighbor. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try not to think too much about that. I'm very lucky in a way. I do have I don't want to sound like too negative. I do have a lot of loving family and friends in my life. I'm very thankful for. That makes a big difference. But it is difficult because a lot of those family and friends, well, live far away. You know, I don't have any family members that live in Finland, you know, obviously. But yeah, even the friends that I do have here, it's quite difficult to find time. You seem to have some idealized idea about gardening. Well, JS, I mean, to be fair, I went into it not idealizing it, but not expecting to dislike it so much. Like I reached a point where I felt like I was forcing myself to be positive. And I was like, isn't the garden supposed to just make me feel good? Like, I don't feel like that's idealized. Like that's one of the main benefits people talk about gardening. Like for me, running is one of those things that just makes me feel good to do. Like I don't have to think about why it feels good to run, to exercise. Like it just happens. And gardening, it wasn't happening. And I just realized, I'm like, this is way too much. There's too much effort. But to your point, it could have been better to have a smaller garden and to have some pots. You know, I think one of the problems is that my garden was too big. 50 square meters. Bigger than my apartment. And yeah, in that sense, it was a bit more overwhelming because there's more land I have to like manage. Uh, and yeah, it would be, and that's why I was like, it would be easier if I just had like an expert who would be like, okay, here's how we're gonna divide it up, and here's where you're gonna plant this and this, and make, you know, and like someone to kind of help guide, because like without that, it's just like it's exhausting reading these gardening books and trying to figure out when to do things. And a lot of the information I'm getting is in English, which is for a different climate, like in the UK or in the US. And so the timing is totally different. And maybe even what you can or can't plant in Finland, you know, is different as well. So, and I also realized, okay, that it's important not to force yourself to do things. You know, like it's important just to like recognize what your interests are, and also somebody else might actually enjoy the garden. Like, and if I give up my garden and someone else is excited to get it, then that is so easy for me to do. Like, I'm good here, take it, please. Please. You didn't go on a walk today, JS, kept resting. You did 10 kilometers on Saturday and Sunday and Monday each. Wow, well done. I actually, part of why I'm so tired today, and by the way, I'm realizing we haven't practiced much Finnish, but I blame you guys. Yeah, we'll do some more Finnish here in a little bit. But I'm training for a marathon in August. And for some reason in my mind, August is a long time away. To me, it seems like it's almost on the other side of a hill. Like I can't even see it. But then when I look at the calendar, it's like, you know, I'm like the marathon is only like 12 weeks away. And I'm like, 12 weeks is not much time to train for a marathon. And I haven't been able to train over the past year at times because I've had some issues in my ankles and Achilles, you know, nothing too serious, but you know, enough that it flares up and I have to take some time off, some stuff like that. But thankfully I've been good now. And so I started training again, and even just doing like, you know, a pretty basic training run, I'm like, oh God, I'm so dead. my body has to readapt these longer runs. But yeah, learning what you like and dislike, in addition to why you don't like or like those things, is great growth. Thank you, Yuha. I appreciate the positive affirmation. See, you're the most positive Finnish person I know. But yeah, that was, yeah, the other thing with the garden. I just realized, I'm like, yeah, I just got to recognize, you know, it's sort of like, you got to recognize the difference between having a tough time with the garden on a particular day, then that's worth pushing through, versus not enjoying any aspect of the garden. Like even the thought of the garden was stressing me out, because I would think of all the things I haven't done yet, and I would think I need to come up with a planting plan. I need to figure out what to plant and when, but also not overthink it. You know, I don't want to make a spreadsheet that's like overly complicated, but I do need to have some idea of what I'm planting, and I need to keep track of where I planted things and maybe when I should look to harvest, or, you know, and maybe, I don't know. There was like all sorts of stuff. I kind of just felt like, yeah, it's too stressful. I need to minimize the number of things in my life. I really only have time for doing a few. I'd rather do a few things well than to like overextend myself across too many hobbies. And gardening was not an easy hobby. I just decided, if I just had one planter box and I was planting like 2 or 3 things in it, then it would be easier. But yeah. You got to get those tabletop-sized chili peppers and tomato plant. Berry bushes give enough juice. At least all the juice you need for at least half the winter. That, to me, that sentence is only something Finnish people understand. And what? Finnish people and berries. This is another thing that I like. Is so weird to me. Finnish people hoard berries like Golem with the One Ring. Finnish people will literally purchase a separate freezer in their kitchen. Like they will have side-by-side refrigerators, except one is an actual refrigerator and the other is just a total freezer. Like it's like an industrial freezer. And Finnish people will be like, oh, I don't have enough room. How much do you need to keep frozen? And the irony is they're keeping stuff frozen for the winter when it's actually frozen outside and you barely even need the freezer. But yeah, no. Finnish people and their berries, the juice. Did gardening make a vegan dislike vegetables, JF? It gave me respect for how difficult it is to garden. That's for sure, you know. And I mean, not that I was being disrespectful, but it gave me a deeper understanding of how difficult it is to put together a garden, and how rewarding it could be for someone else, I suppose. And I do think, in my defense, if I were in a different context, like if, for example, I joined a cult or some religious order where they had a garden and I was just helping, where everything was already planned, you know, and there were already older people there who had been gardening for many years and could teach me, rather than me trying to read in a book and look on the internet and take pictures of plants to figure out, am I growing this or is this a weed? Like, you know, is this okay? Like, it would be a lot more fun if I had a community, I guess, to garden with, rather than just me versus nature. Yeah, the edited gardening videos. I mean, I don't dislike these gardener YouTubers or whatever. I think it's great that they're sharing their passion and inspiring people to get outside and, you know, do something healthy. Like, you know, yeah, it's better if we grew more food locally than, you know, going to the grocery store. But yeah, I think it would be much better done like in a communal way, not in a, you know, not in a such an individualistic way where everyone has their little plot and nobody talks to each other. And yeah. It used to be a central village with farms around it. Hey, Perks. Welcome in. How are you doing? You almost gave up your passion, photography, Yuha, because you just didn't like doing it. But at the same time, you could not do it. You tried to do photography like others do it, and that just wasn't for you. Okay. What was it, though? What was it? Why do you feel compelled to do photography, then? When I first did photography in high school, I took a class on it, and I really enjoyed nature photography. I did not enjoy pictures of people. Taking portraits of people, that just kind of stressed me out. I enjoy just taking pictures, especially like close-up pictures of leaves and plants and little bugs and stuff. Like the more macro I could get a photo, the more I enjoyed taking pictures. Or even more like expressive pictures of, like, I don't know, patterns on the ground, just like potholes on the ground. That could be an interesting photo if you frame it a certain way or adjust the values in post, in your editing software or whatever, right? Like that made photos a lot more fun. I even did a little photo project. I remember when I was in France, I did a photo project where I was taking a picture like every day and I had a little quote or something. So maybe something I wrote or a quote from something I was reading at the time, and made a little kind of photo journal I had online. That was fun. And that, in a way, that was the precursor to my YouTube channel. When I first came to Finland, even before arriving, I had it in my head that I wanted to do some sort of photo blog project when I came to Finland. And but I didn't start it immediately. I didn't think it was going to be a YouTube channel. It wasn't until it wasn't until 2016 that I started the channel, and then all this nonsense happened. Isn't America a cult these days? Well, we've perfected the art of the cult. All right, we took religion and turned the volume up on it. All right, that's what we were good for. Time for more Finnish, Lorelei. Yeah, we can do that. Are there any places in Helsinki you haven't visited yet, and maybe do a video tour and put on YouTube? Yeah, I have thought about maybe doing some more I don't know, YouTube videos for you guys. I just feel like sometimes I'm just like, I lose the energy or the interest, the momentum. I struggle a lot with motivation. And at least where YouTube is concerned, sometimes I feel like I'm just forcing myself to do it. And I don't know. I've been thinking about that. I don't want to promise anything, but there certainly are things I could do. True. I'll acknowledge that. Macro photography was fun when we used to do it. And Yuha, photography for you is collecting memories and moments. Your memory is super bad unless you have a photo in front of you. Photos are a way for you to return to the warm, fuzzy past. Also, mushrooms. Doing mushrooms? Or taking pictures of mushrooms. I don't know. But, well, yeah, no. It's funny. I don't really take many pictures of things as they happen. I don't know. Gear jealousy is one way to lose interest in photography. Yeah. Just taking pictures of mushrooms, Yuha, you swear? All right. Lorelei was right. We need to do a little Finnish here. Okay, and I'm gonna try my best. And so this has to do, this is like animal species' finds for this. But I don't know this word. So hold on, let's bring it over to Google Translate. It means protected. That's what this means. Protected species. Specieses. I want to see the base word or whatever. Yeah, rauhoitettu. The past passive participle of rauhoittaa. Protected. Hold on. I'm taking a quick break. The species to be led in peace. Rauha. That's okay, peace. Rauha. Rauhoittaa. What is it? There is an expression I learned in Finnish that's sort of like to be left in like, I think it was on Duolingo, and it used this rauhassa. I want some peace and quiet or something like that. I can't remember. You've never owned a camera in your life, Polyu. Well, hold on. But have you ever owned any device that has a camera in it, like your computer or your phone? Rauhoitettu could also mean calmed. Yeah, pacified. So yeah, in this case, the JEN agrees with hold on, I gotta look something up. I want to look up this laji. In Finnish, species. Yeah, okay. I was just checking that it is plural. I was like, wait a second. It's just, yeah, it confused me because typically when you make a plural in Finnish, you're adding an I or a J. But laji already has an I and a J. So you add an E to make it, to make it plural in the genitive. The singular genitive would be layin. 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 Okay. So it is plural. That's why the JEN makes it so that it's protected nature species prices. We made it past the headline, wow, or the subheading, whatever. Voit lukea uutiset aikaisesti alta. You can read the news at the same time below. Uutisviikon aihe ovat rauhoitettujen luontolajien hinnat. Hinnat tulevat käyttöön, jos joku vahingoittaa lajia tahallisesti. So it's saying the Newsweek topic are the Newsweek's topic are the prices. Yeah, it sounds weird because in English, the topic is. Yeah, well, whatever. But the prices or the fines are the topic. The fines are coming into use if one does something, I guess hurts or kills a species tahallisesti. Does this mean accidentally or intent, or maybe the opposite? Does it mean intentionally? Let's check with Google. The fees come into effect if someone intentionally harms a species. To harm, vahingoittaa, and intentionally, tahallisesti. Phone camera, yes, but not a real camera for you. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if you still used like a non-camera phone. That was so weird when that got introduced. I remember when I had a BlackBerry Pearl. That was my phone in college. Back in like 2008. Man, that BlackBerry Pearl. And that was an upgrade from my high school phone, which was it an Ericsson or I think it was actually a Nokia flip phone. It was one of those little flip phones that I thought was the peak of technology. Wow. You have an old Canon EOS 550D. That's JS. This is a funny sentence because it's as if the prices aren't already set, but are only set when something happens. It's a weird quirk of the law. But yeah, no. Laki suojele rauhoitettuja lajeja. There's... Is this the partitive plural? We have lajia. We've seen laji in so many different forms. We've had genitive plural. Now we've had partitive singular, because it's if someone harms a species intentionally. And now we've got it partitive plural. The law, laki, doesn't laki mean law? Because I know I've seen that in the library. When you walk around the library, you go past the law section, and it's just a bunch of books that just say law on them. Laki suojele. I should know this, but I forgot this word. It does something for protected species. It protects protected species. That it defends? Is that what it means? It protects protected species. It sounds a bit redundant in English, but I guess in Finnish you're using two different words. It is kind of funny that the team over at Yle decided to put the price like it's a raffle ticket. Like this shape of this ticket is not the shape that you would get of like a fine, you know, like that you get like on your car, like a parking fine. This is the shape of a ticket that you get when you like buy it. You buy into a raffle. And they're like pulling lucky numbers for you. You could win this type of eagle, whatever it is called. I think it is around 65 centimeters long, and it's Deepian Valley on 160 centimeters. What is that? It's wingspan. I mean, you could just use context here to guess, right? The spotted eagle. That's what it is. Maybe it has another name as well. Let me just double check. Sometimes Google Translate. The greater spotted eagle. Klanga. But yeah, ovat, because the subject for the news is plural. Yeah, I was struggling because I was thinking aihe was the subject. The topic was the subject, the way we would say it in English. Oh, the government maybe hasn't set the final prices yet, so they're still debating on them. And you got your photography spark back. Way to go. That's good. But why protect species that aren't in any way endangered? Sounds weird to you? And some are endangered in some parts of Finland. That's it. Yeah, it could be. I'm sure it's an interesting discussion. Like, what is an animal worth? I'm of the view that animals and nature have intrinsic value, and that we shouldn't be killing them, like, regardless. We don't live in hunter-gatherer times where we need to do that. And so I think, yeah, how do you determine if an animal is endangered or not? Like, it's good to protect animals regardless, right? Like, their lives and their dignity exist, and it's worth respecting it and making rules socially so that people aren't out there, because like one person can do a lot of damage hunting and in destroying habitats. Of course, I know like a lot of the problem isn't down to individuals. And in fact, I scrolled down later and I saw like, oh, oysters are on here. And like, a lot of oysters were damaged by, was it a foresting company or was it the state-run foresting organization? I can't remember. But yeah. Yeah, no, I think nature is beautiful. And obviously, like, there are so many ways in which our lives do depend on these animals that, and the ecosystems that they are a part of, that we are a part of. And so, yeah, disrupting those ecosystems and sort of just doing it because we think like, oh, well, what does it really matter if someone, does that? It can really matter. And the thing is, once you lose a species, it's gone forever. Like, you can't bring it back like the dire wolves. Like the dire wolf, even the dire wolves aren't real dire wolves. And the ecosystem the dire wolves evolved in doesn't exist anymore. So you can't bring back the whole ecosystem simultaneously. But anyways, yeah, I think there's also a sadness. Or at least I feel like I feel sad that so many animals that did exist even just a few hundred years ago are gone. Like all the birds that were killed off in New Zealand that we know a lot about because we still have their bones. But like these really cool, large birds that were just killed off by all the humans and I guess the mice and other things that came with them. That makes me sad. And I think about future generations and I'm like, what in a couple hundred years will people think of us when they're like, you guys had giraffes and you just killed them? you guys had all the cool stuff and you just let it die? Because it's like, it took millions of years of evolution. Like, we can't bring stuff back, or we shouldn't count on that, right? Anyways, that's my Cult of Tyler sermon today. Because it also is almost kind of implying, like, what is the purpose of price? Even the word here, hinta, prices, makes it sound like you can purchase the right to kill an animal for that, like, and I do believe like in animal rights. So in the same way that like you can't purchase the right to go kill a person, and obviously there's like, and if people do kill people, murder, like there's punishment for it. And But yeah, anyways, we got to take better care of the world. Says me who is giving up his garden. Like, I love nature, except where I actually have to work the ground, and then that sucks. Like, we can't all be perfect here. But yeah, you have to come up with something to deter people from harming the environment. You know, like, I can't expect other people to just, you know, to respect nature out of good vibes, you know, and belief in, you know, animal rights. There has to be like some deterrent, some punishment. Yeah, they weren't supposed to drive over the river with the rakos, whatever that yeah, the construction equipment. And if the punishment is a fixed fine, then it's a punishment only to the poor. Yeah. And you know, there's so many things with this kind of stuff that, like, there are so many well-intended laws that have like perverse outcomes. Like, incentives get changed or whatever, or like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the case in this situation. My goodness, I just apologize to you all right now. I'm dragging my feet right now through Finnish. I am not approaching this with the same level of energy and pizzazz that I normally have. But, you know, that's where I am today. Okay, we're going slow. Rauhoi tetut kasvit. This is protected plants. Ja eläimet and animals ovat saaneet uudet hinnat, are getting new prices, new fees. So I guess it's like there already were fines in place, but now they're updating them for inflation. I mean, if you think about it, the like, so many animals through the like 1800s, like, people had a very different idea of like our relationship with nature and animals. It was awful. Like, the government of Finland literally paid people to go kill birds like this. There used to be a prize. The government would pay you to kill, I don't know if specifically this species, I think the eagle owl was one that you could, if you killed the birds, you could go and collect, you could get some money, because it was believed that killing these animals would be better for farmers, better for nature. And a lot of that is kind of rooted in a Christian ideology about how nature is cursed, and that man needs to, you know, rebalance it. You know, that man was brought to cultivate the earth, to turn it into one giant farm. And it wasn't up until the 1950s. Think about how long they had this law where you could shoot, you know, these owls and go collect a fee for it up until the 1950s. That kind of surprised me when I was like, wow, that's actually much more recent than I thought. But yeah, thankfully more conservation efforts have been put in place. Like bears as well, we lost a lot of bears. About well-intended, or you don't know about the age limit for e-scooters? Oh my gosh, I freaking hate those. Law says it's 15, where the companies that rent had age restriction at 18, not that they were able to monitor it. Yeah, so it's like you can create these restrictions, but then, yeah, whether you can enforce it or not. Yeah, the scooters. Yeah, let's not get on that. I hate those scooters. Have gotten, past tense. Thank you, Lorelai. Yes. Ovatsane. The geese. The geese nowadays, they poop and honk. And yeah, that's another problem. I read that we've created too ideal of a habitat for geese because we've destroyed so much of the forest and we've created these open landscapes, like especially golf park, like golf. Why did I say golf park? What is a golf course? I'm forgetting English. A golf course, right? So, lots of golf courses and public parks and lots of lawns are like ideal for geese. And then of course we've removed a lot of the natural predators as well. So geese populations are booming, and that can create knock-on effects on nature. But anyways, where was I? Rauhoitettu laji on eliölaji. The protected species, a protected species is this. I don't know what eliö means, but some specific type of species, jotalaki suojele, which the law protects. A protected species is a protected species which the law protects. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Kaikkia lajeja ei saa poimia tai pyydystää. All specieses do not get poimia. Punishments, maybe? Or pyydystää. No, these are verbs, right? I don't know what they mean. In this case, it's saying not all species get. A protected species is a species of living organism that is protected by law. Not all species may be picked or caught. Somehow, clear felling of forest was sold to Finnish people as a form of forest care. It's supposed to simulate forest fires. It doesn't. I've thought about this, and this is one of the great ironies of living in Finland, or of being Finnish, is this idea that Finnish people are a forest people, that Finnish people live close to nature. But the vast majority of forests in Finland are planted forest or secondary forests. They aren't natural. And you kind of think, what does that say about the country, about the people? And now, granted, you can't look back at it and be angry at your ancestors for making bad decisions. They lived in a different time. I can't imagine what it was like to live during wartime. That can change your perspective and your priorities as well. But yeah, it does kind of make you think about, like, what is a forest if it's not just an economic unit, And this isn't just for Finnish people, obviously. Like everywhere in the world, in America, all over Europe, the idea of, planting trees equals a forest. And that's not, especially in these more monoculture forests. The plantation forests are like a scourge upon the earth. They just take up space, and they're prone to all sorts of disease and disaster. Like across the UK, there was a storm years ago. Like I know about this now because I watch Geo Wizard. He does these straight line missions, and he normally does them in the UK where he's from. And there are times where he has to go through forests, like forest plantations. And because of the storms, many of these forests were just completely knocked over, like dominoes. Like one tree started falling and all the other trees because they're all the same age. They all fell over and died. And it creates an extremely dangerous, terrain. Because, these trees, if one slips, it could kill you because they're heavy. And you have to kind of scramble over them, and they're slippery, and it's really, but okay, I'm like ranting here or rambling, but that's one thing about Finland. And well, to be fair, I don't think Finnish people should give up or like start thinking that they don't love nature. Like, that's not the problem, right? Actually, even if your love of nature is kind of like based on some, falsehood or some false belief of what nature actually is or what a forest actually is, that doesn't mean you're wrong for that feeling that you have, that being out in the forest is good for you. And being out in nature, even if it is just a secondary forest, that's still good for you. But forest as an economic unit is dangerous. Sometimes I start to feel like we as humans aren't building a world for ourselves as a species. We're building a world for like systems, especially capitalist systems, to exploit. In the same way that like a colony of ants doesn't exist like for the worker ants or like for a particular worker ant. It exists for like the system, the collective organism that succeeds. And Oh yeah, the reindeer as well. That's another crazy thing. To me, it is insane that there are no wild reindeer. They're all semi-domesticated. That almost seems like a crime against nature to me. You can't leave some reindeer for nature. You have to own all of them. What the actual heck, dude? Like, that's crazy to me. But yeah, the wolverine will eat reindeer. Or the wolf. The sunset's gonna be gorgeous, Omni. I mean, that's one of the nice things in this time of year, just how much the sun has been out, and it is surreal. Like, I ended stream yesterday at like 9:30, and then I looked outside and it was still daylight, and I'm just like, I don't feel like I've mentally adjusted from winter. Like, I'm still in a winter mindset. I'm not ready for it to already be almost midsummer. We only have a few weeks till midsummer. I'm not well adapted. Time is moving too quickly for me. These days, people refer to the Finns' special relationship to nature sarcastically. Majority definitely do not have a special relationship to nature. See clear felling, fur industry, etc. Yeah, I do also think, to be fair, a lot of these sort of crimes against nature are perpetrated by like a few organizations, and like relatively a few people in positions of power. A lot of Finnish people just don't really know, or that they do know, there are ways of kind of washing your hands of it, I guess, or sort of accepting it as like, well. But yeah. You not liking the outside because of bugs, Lorelei? I agree with you. I agree. And this happens to me every year when I go for my long runs. In winter, I'm like dying because it's so cold, and I'm like, I can't wait till it's sunny, and I don't have to wear all these layers that are so uncomfortable. And then when it actually is sunny, I'm running through swarms of gnats. I'm getting bugs stuck to my face, like in the sweat. I come home and look in the mirror, and I have little bugs that sacrifice their lives in the sweat on my forehead. It's awful. I hate that. It's not that big of a deal. All right. But yeah. As long as the bugs don't bite me. Mosquitoes, I had a mosquito trauma session. Like I went camping in Siponkorpi last year, and it happened to be mosquito heaven. The mosquitoes had all simultaneously hatched, and they were thirsty. I have never been bitten by mosquitoes that much. It was so bad. You would hear mosquitoes all day, all night around you, buzzing. It was awful. I looking back at that, I'm just like, that. If that was my only experience of like hiking or camping, I would never do it again. Oh, that was the worst. Not fun. You couldn't do anything without, like, I didn't even realize until like the next day. I was like, my ankles were super itchy, and I was like, how did the mosquitoes get me on my ankles? I was wearing like thick socks. They bit through the socks. They were biting through the clothes. And I was like, okay, that crosses a line. The mosquitoes in Finland are another breed of evil. The mosquitoes I grew up with in America, they're mosquitoes I can respect. First of all, because those mosquitoes are actually quick. In America, we have mosquitoes that are like ninja mosquitoes. They don't swarm you. They fly in, they leave. They're like in and out. In Finland, you just get a cloud of mosquitoes. And the mosquitoes, they aren't fast. It's actually really easy to kill each individual mosquito. It's just you'll be killing mosquitoes. You have to kill 1 million mosquitoes per second to keep up with the swarm. The mosquitoes were so bad. I remember with my friend, we tried going for a little hike, and we looked behind us, and we could visibly see a cloud of mosquitoes following us. I didn't realize that was so unnerving. Like, I would rather be surrounded by cockroaches than go through that. At least cockroaches, like, they generally just leave you alone. They're not gonna bite you. That was too much, man. Or even spiders. I don't know. Or snakes. Snakes are cool though. Yeah, raising foxes for fur should be banned because so few people buy fur coats these days, and exporting is expensive. Well, I mean, Ani, I think that the rights of the animals would be my main concern. Like these beautiful animals capable of great joy and great suffering. It's a crime against their nature. But yeah. But I do agree it should be banned. Fur industry should stop. It shouldn't be subsidized. Yeah, there are some like really backwards things still happening, especially tough. Oh yeah, you saw Lily of the Valley flowering. I've seen a bunch of them come in as well, JS. Yeah. It's an exciting time to be out in the forest. Another reason not to be in my dumb garden. I hate the garden. I'm hitting send on that email. Oh man, I gotta give it up. I gotta give it up. But yeah, the forest is so nice to be out in. You can only imagine that one Australian man without arms and legs who said he hates mosquitoes. Well, no wonder. I don't know about. Is that a meme or something? All I see on you wrote about kielon myrkyllinen. Isn't myrkyllinen mosquito? Mosquitoes bit your eyelids and you were mostly blind for a while? Yeah, the mosquitoes in Finland are just another breed of evil. Oh, that would be hyttynen. Ah, okay. Well, let me actually pull this sentence you wrote and put it into Google Translate. Because, oh, okay. Kielo is lily of the valley. And I should have known this word. I've seen this word before. It's poisonous. Yes. Yeah, that was something like, I read somewhere that when you're a kid in Finland, parents and teachers often tell you not to eat the lily of the valley, the really poisonous plant. Even I think like it can hurt your skin as well, I think. Like if you break the stem and get some of the sap or whatever, the milk on your skin, I think it could hurt. I don't know. Don't lick your hands after picking some. Yeah. Okay, let's do one more sentence. Part of me wants to apologize for being so bad at Finnish today, but also another part of me says no. I am exactly who I am at my stage of intellectual and emotional maldevelopment. All right. And I don't have to apologize for that. Monet uhanalaiset lajit on rauhoitettu. Many something. I have no idea what this. Uhanalaiset, uhanalainen. Some type of species is. I forget about this because it's like many is. I guess in English you say many are. Many, some type of species are protected. This type of species are vaarassa hävitä. Does this mean dangerous? Or does it mean endangered? I forget what this word means. Hävitä. I don't know. Hey, look, I did such a bad job translating. Oh, uhanalaiset means endangered. Many endangered species have been protected. Endangered species are in danger of extinction. The sentences are almost so dumb, I can't guess. Like, it's almost so obvious that I can't. I think that's too obvious. So I try to guess something else when I'm translating it, like subconsciously. This is almost like elämä on life. That's the level of logic involved here. Hävitä means to disappear. Extinction would be sukupuutto. Disappear. Like, they didn't go extinct. They just disappeared. All right. We don't know what happened to them. Maybe they're still out there. You know, we didn't kill them all. Maybe it's just an illusion, right? Like climate change. It's just, I don't know. Maybe the science just isn't there. I try not to get political on my streams. But that was a joke, by the way. Yeah, uhanalainen. It explains the word uhanalainen. But then, at least I did see this in danger. You know, I saw that. But I think I translated as dangerous. Messed up. Whatever. We'll do one more. Jos joku poimii uhanalaisen kasvin tai tuhoaa sen, hän voi joutua oikeuteen. If you, if someone, we just had this word earlier for poimia. I think, does it mean to pick an endangered plant? If someone picks an endangered plant or kills it, I don't know. I feel like this means to kill. But tapa is to kill. Is this another, or damage is it? I think it might be damage. That I'm just going off vibes. Like there's some deep recess of my brain that is like there's like a little goblin in my brain who's like, maybe this word. And he's just like tossing words in English to me. Like, try this, try that. Here you go. And then I get the word wrong and he's like, that's what it feels like in my brain. I feel like all the Finnish words are locked away in a vault with some evil goblin who won't give me the words when I need them. I'm like, I know I've learned this word before. And he's like, whatever. He doesn't care. Anyways, yeah, if someone does this, then they can... what? I mean, logically, it should be that they get punished, right? But I just don't understand what this is trying to... Because this means like... Actually, I have no idea. Because I think oikeus is like correct. Yeah, if someone picks or destroys an endangered plant, they may be prosecuted. That's okay. I have seen this phrase before. Let me look this up here. I gotta see this. Yeah, to get into a negative position, to end up. That's right. It's like to end up in the justice system. I was seeing if they had an example here, but I have seen this phrase before. Oikeuteen. Raku in English? Wait, what is raku? I don't know. A freshwater pearl mussel. Uhan alla. Uhattuna. Under threat. Yep. Oh, okay. Uhka. I think means threat, right? Uhan alla. Some produced pearls, which is why they were hunted at times and almost went extinct. Yeah. Actually, there was a really good documentary. It was a Ken Burns documentary, and I saw it on Yle Arena. I don't know if it's still on there, probably not, but it was a documentary about the buffalo. And it told the history of the buffalo in North America, and how there were millions and millions of them, and they almost went extinct. And I mean, yeah, even like there's like a European bison that has almost gone extinct as well, that is coming back. I think there's a national park in Poland that has some wild European bison. But yeah, and even in America, it's kind of there was just some ranchers who happened to have enough American bison or buffalo to be able to start repopulating, along with some zoos and other people or organizations. It was crazy because I remember there was a part where there was some guy for the Smithsonian Museum from Washington, D.C., who wanted to get a buffalo taxidermied for the museum as like whatever, for like the American Natural History Museum. But he couldn't get it because by the time he made it out west, pretty much all the buffalo herds had been killed. And it was really sad. But it shows like how, people are kind of subject to systems. And even the people killing the buffalo realized that what they were doing was wrong. But they didn't stop because they felt that, well, if I don't kill the buffalo, someone else is going to do it anyway. And like, what can we do? What can I do? I'm just trying to pay my bills. I'm just trying to make a living. And the systems were in place that did everything except protect the buffalo, unfortunately. But yeah. In the first Red Dead Redemption, there's an achievement for killing all the bison in the game. Okay, I played Red Dead Redemption, the first one. I haven't played the second one. But the first one, I don't remember the bison achievement. Like, that is kind of hilarious because it's in a video game. But yeah. You reloaded the save before and after doing that for the achievement. The achievement is called Manifest Destiny. I mean, it's important that we have media like that. Like, that sort of satires, society. That's, yeah. It's a secret achievement. I do remember going through and trying to get all the achievements. So I might have done that, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't know about the secret achievement. But I did create a spreadsheet for Red Dead Redemption, and I might still have that spreadsheet. I'm gonna look right now. It was back in like 2020 I was playing it. I'm just gonna type in. I have a spreadsheet titled Flowers of Red Dead Redemption. Okay, so it was only for the flowers. Apparently, I was trying to collect the violet snowdrop or the hummingbird sage. And I had the location, the value, and the territory. I don't even remember why I made this. I do remember so the spreadsheet was not as exhaustive as I feared. It was only for the flowers. But yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to have to wrap up the stream here. Thanks for joining for another week, another installment. It was a bit of a down week in terms of Finnish. And it has been a down week for me in terms of Finnish. I haven't been as focused on practicing Finnish, but that's also fine. Like, comes and goes. I'm not giving up, okay? Not unless I get kicked out of Finland. Not unless, dude. I gotta renew my residence permit this year, and that's also causing a lot of anxiety or stress, I suppose. I'm not naturally an anxious person, but when it's like, yeah, your right to exist in, in a place is it does, well, your right to exist isn't really protected, uh, it's like, imagine if we rounded up all the spotted eagles and we didn't kill them. We're not that barbaric, but we asked the spotted eagles, what is your economic value? What are you doing to prove your worth for living here in Finland? Oh, you don't make a certain amount of money every month? Sorry. If you aren't, so if you aren't economically productive at all times, screw you. You're not allowed to stay here. We don't want your kind. We could banish all of nature for being so economically. You know how many tax dollars are spent on caring for nature? Ugh. Why should my tax dollars go to help some lazy spotted eagle? Why? I'm being sarcastic here if it isn't obvious. But I feel like the spotted eagle. So that's also why I'm like, maybe not practicing Finnish as much with other things going on. But thank you guys for joining the stream. We will continue next week. I'm also playing Terraria. Feel free to drop in and say hi. I challenge you to surprise me. I feel like I have almost like 2 different audiences. The people that will watch my Terraria streams, and then you guys watching my Finnish streams. I want to break down that barrier. Even if you just show up for like 30 seconds to say hi. I mean, it would mean a lot to me, but no pressure. I won't cry myself to sleep if you don't. All right? It's okay. You do you. Claim asylum for the craziness going on in America. I mean, oh. You showed up 2 seconds yesterday, didn't say anything, JS. No worries, And if you're a lurker, thank you. I appreciate you as well. But yeah, we'll be back with some more Terraria maybe tomorrow, because I'm getting back into it. Let me show you. I'll give you a hint. I'm getting organized. All right, look at that. I have a presentation. I made goals because this game is really difficult. And sometimes it's hard to know what to do next. So I was like, here's what I want to do in the game to beat the game. And I put together a little spreadsheet. So you can, and we did this yesterday. We beat this boss, the Destroyer. Surprisingly, I don't know how I beat him in 1 try. And then we haven't fought this guy. Pretty scary dude. But we did fight this guy, and we lost. I died. It was really difficult. But I only tried him once. Anyways, look, I'm upping the quality of my gaming streams. We've got presentations now. So if you want to join for that, that would be cool. But if not, no worries. Maybe I'll see you again next week, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Finland time. We do this every week. Hope you guys, have a good rest of your Tuesday, wherever you are in the world. And See you in the next one. Goodbye.